Hi everybody, thanks for joining this webinar, which is about child online safety, and is targeting especially parents and youth workers. Sorry, I am Carlotta Figini, as you can see from the European Digital Learning Network, DLearn, and I'm here today with Kristen from Step by Step. With Silvia, always from Step by Step, and Stelios from Emphasis Interactive Solutions. I will be today the facilitator of this webinar, and thank you very much for joining it. I hope it will be useful for you to know more about child online safety and grooming. Just a technical feedback for you all. As we are co-organizer and speaker of the webinar, you can see us and you can hear us, but you can interact with us, writing us questions. You can see you have a setting bar next to us, where you have the questions. You have a window with questions. There you can type your question. We have already a very nice statement, which is everything is great with the heart. So in the meanwhile, we are going to present the different topics of today. Please feel free to ask over there the questions or doubts or anything you want to know more, and we will answer to your question while the experts are presenting. If the question is not strictly related to the topic that the expert is explaining, we will answer at the end to give a sort of consistency to the topic and the discussion. I will now start presenting and sharing my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. So the webinar today is part of a project, as you can see, which is a STOP, and it's a project aimed at fighting child abuse through a training program for youth workers and the development of an augmented reality game. Today's topics will be digital youth work and grooming practices, presented by Christian from Step by Step, how to prevent and recognize signs of grooming, online grooming. Third one, okay, once we know what is grooming and how to prevent it, Stelios from, sorry, not Step by Step, but from Emphasis, will show us what to do in case we detect an online grooming practices. And third one, it's about the presentation of the STOP project itself. To give you an idea why for us it's important to introduce the topic, to understand first how much time children spend online. In the context of this webinar and project, we consider a child, a person from 0 years old to 18 years old, just to make an introduction. And why it's important to understand child safety online, because children spend a lot of time online. Statistics say that a child between 5 and 15 years old spend around 15 hours a week online. Consider it on a 7-day, it's more like 2 hours a day. In normal times, not considering now during coronavirus. And the 44%, so 1 out of 2 children aged 5 and 15 have their own smartphone, which means that they can basically go online and do the same things that adults may do. Imagine all this kind of hours, how much they increased during COVID-19. Indeed, the reason why we organize this webinar is because Europol, the European Police Services, basically introduce an alarm to all the organization working in the field of prevention of child abuse, youth worker and parents, as child spend much time online than usual. Imagine that now schools, homework, talking with friends, it's always happening online during coronavirus. And this means that we need to think about our child safety online twice more than usually. Also because by the fact that maybe some parents may work in the meanwhile, child are left alone with the devices. And this pose very serious challenges related to child safety. Related to the question, what these child do when they are online, and which is the famous digital divide. Now, what are they doing online? As in the graphic, we can see that the 90% of child surveyed between 11 and 16 years old do have an account on social media. And the question is which social media, because nowadays there are a lot of social media. We started with Facebook, then we went to Instagram, then it was Twitter, now there is TikTok, Snapchat. So we need to also always be updated related to all the social media. And then we have WhatsApp, Twitter, a lot of things that the young people use, and we should be aware about that. Why we say that? We say that because these two slides tell us that nowadays young people use a lot internet, spend a lot of time online. They use social media platform and chat rooms, a lot of device, a lot of online instrument that most of the time we as adults do not know. So today we thought it was a bit important to advise with some information about what to do if you are a parent or a youth worker. Some information related to sexual abuse, and why we thought today it's important to talk about this. In the first image, you can see it's the Council of Europe campaign in 1 in 5 children. Step back, it's very difficult in a way to collect data and researches about prevention of sexual abuse in general, because there are a lot of data that do not represent the real reality of cases, and there are also different data collection in different member states. So the Council of Europe, this is a campaign from 2010-2015, merge all the information from the different member states, and it came out that 1 in 5 children in Europe has experienced some kind of sexual violence. Sexual violence, it could be from rape, sexual harassment, grooming, and online sexual exploitation. These graphics are taken from the Italian situation, but compared on a general level, you can more or less estimate that it could be taken and applied also in other member states in Europe. And what it emerged that the 75% of victims of sexual abuse are female, and the 25 it's instead male. The type of abuse that children face may vary. It could be violence at home, violence in internet for the 23%, while 19% is related to school. Imagine now that with the health crisis due to the coronavirus, children are more exposed to violence, as because they stay more time at home, but at the same time they stay more time online. So I give you some information about grooming and about today's discussion. I now leave the floor to Crystal, that instead will talk about what is exactly grooming and the importance for youth workers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will show you my screen now. I hope you see it. So, as you already know, we are here today to talk about online grooming, so that we can know how to prevent it and or stop it in our surroundings. We are here today to present you how parents and youth workers can keep their children and young people safer online, and more specific, how to recognize the signs and talk about the children or their beneficiaries. My task today is to focus more on a youth work part. For starts, I don't know how many of you, sorry, how many of you know what youth work is, or how many of you are youth workers. But youth work is most definitely one of the most undefined and comprehensive term, interpreted differently in any member states, not only in member states or country, also in every youth organization. Everyone has one thing in common, and that youth work is something to help young people to reach their full potential, encourages them for personal development, autonomy, initiative, and of course participation in society. Nowadays, something called digital youth work is becoming an increasingly common form of youth work, because it's based on the same definition as a youth work, but it's more focused on digital media and technologies. So digital youth work focused on disseminating and providing knowledge to all the new technologies, social networks, and mobile applications that everybody is using. And important aspect of the digital youth work is providing education of users of these, as they call it nowadays, new media, so social networks, etc., in order to see all the benefits they offer us, but also to protect themselves against any threats that they may be on there. The common threat that is detected in digital work today is online grooming. The concept that is well known and recognized, but it's not that common to talk about it or to write about it. Just a little digression here. When you Google, for example, grooming, the first 10, 20 results will be about dogs and cats haircuts. So because the online grooming as it is, it's not very well recognized yet on the writing about it. But of course, online grooming is in many ways and shapes, but the grooming is when somebody makes an emotional connection with someone to try to make you do things like sexual conversation, naked image of yourself or themselves, some videos, or do something sexual live on the webcam. The important part to stress out here is that the groomers can be old and young, could be male or female, and we all talk to the people online, and it's great way to stay connected, maybe even to get some new friends. But it's very important to understand what that means to talk about some stuff with strangers that we met only online. If somebody sends sexual photos or videos of themselves, and then they lose control on what it's going to happen with it, and it could be on the internet forever. You know the old saying, when it's on the internet, it's always on the internet. So the most important part is to be aware that we can be victims of a blackmail if we do that. So it's very important to recognize the signs of grooming, which Sylvia will talk about later. I just want to stress out that the signs are quite clear sometimes, and it's very important to talk about it if you see those signs, and it's very important with the victim to talk to them in the level that you know that they are scared and that they have done nothing wrong. Just to see the concept of grooming, I think that I explain it really very basic. I will show you this video that presents really clearly how it's happening, and you can also use that video for your own activities. Sorry. Okay, thank you very much for listening. If you have any question, please please ask, and I will try to answer. And now I will give my word to Silvia, that will talk to you about how to prevent it and see the signs of grooming.
Okay, thank you, Christian. It is quite hard to continue after this video we have just seen. Am I sharing my screen? Yes, no? Yes?
Yes, yes.
You can see it? Okay. No?
Just to start the presentation.
No, I have to remove this.
You just have to start the presentation.
Okay. I believe it is okay now. Yes. So, after we heard about what grooming is, and after this really disturbing video, I will briefly present how to some tips for parents and youth workers both, how to prevent and recognize signs of the online grooming. So first, few words about the prevention of online grooming. Because it is important what we as parents and the youth workers can do to ensure that our children will stay safe online. First of all, we have to address the importance of education. And we can agree that everything starts with the education. From an early age, people need to be equipped with the skills and confidence to engage in a digital world safely and to know where to go to help when some things go wrong. So, one of the most important things for both parents and the youth workers is that we keep up to date with technology and understand how it changes. Too often we can hear a sentence from parents, I don't understand this, it's all new to me. We're growing up in a completely different way. It can be challenging to keep up to date, but it is our responsibility as parents and youth workers to ensure that we keep up to date. We also need to educate ourselves about the online world and the issues that children and young people can be faced with online. If we don't know it, we cannot be able to help them safe online. That how can we keep up to date? It can be very simple, like spending time with your children or with the young people you're working with, uh, trying to play some game like Fortnite, or using some social media like media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat. Try to try something that is new that they are using that they like, and it can help us to understand both what they are doing online, what are the potential dangers, and the most importantly, this is the way how we can build the trust. Uh, so now we're coming to the part what to educate children. First of all, we have to educate them to stay safe online by keeping personal information to themselves. Information like passwords, their location, their email address or phone number, family members' names, etc. Another important thing that children need to know is that they don't meet in person with someone they met online. We have to educate them. If you're going to meet someone you met online, make sure your parents approve that and that they're present. And we're quite sure that is something that won't happen. Another important thing is do not accept friend requests from people you do not know. Also, don't open files from some unknown senders because they can send you images or text which can contain some virus or inappropriate messages. Another very important thing, and it is referring actually to those videos we've seen before, is people online aren't always reliable and honest. They could be lying about who they are, so it's best not to implicitly trust anyone you met online. If you choose to chat online, it is much better to do with people you know already. And the last thing, if something makes you feel worried or uncomfortable, or if you're feeling that someone is grooming you, tell your parents or a trusted adult. So these are like 5 key messages that we really have to, as parents and as the youth workers, to understand and to educate our children. But also we have to be aware of the importance of every of these aspects, because adults often do some things which are also leading to actually risky online behavior. So let's move. What parents need to know how to keep the children safe online. First of all, and some first overall advice for parents would be to build a communication of trust with their children. If you build a relationship of trust and mutual respect and let them know that you can openly talk about anything, including some unpleasant topics, without judgment, without accusing, this part is very important because it will help them to avoid some unpleasant situation or overall. Another important thing is to ensure that you know who your child is talking to. And it is very simple. Ask them about their friends they met online and who may have contacted them. Try to do it in a way that it is not accusing. try to discourage any friends that they don't know personally. If you have any concerns about some individual they're messaging with, you can ask them to see those messages. Try to explain them why it is important for you. Trust is important. If your child doesn't feel like you trust them, they may reject to communicate with you about this topic overall. And while talking with your child, try not to be overly strict and ban all usage, as they're more likely to hide it from you if they have a feeling that you will take that away, especially in those times of corona crisis, where mobile devices are, at the most cases, the only social contact they do have. Instead, overly strict approach and banning try to set the rules and allow some sufficient freedom for your child while still be able to monitor what they do. And the last thing, show your child that you will support them and make sure that they can come to you with any concern they do have about online communication or something they're uncomfortable with. And if something bad is happening, if you're suspecting that something is happening with your child, you have to you can recognize some signs of online grooming, because when the online grooming is happening, the most of the kids aren't even aware that they're being groomed. Most often, they believe that they're talking to someone their own age, on maybe another side of the world, maybe in the same country. This can make very hard to spot that your child is in danger or that something bad is happening. However, any significant change in their emotions, in their reactions, in their behaviors can be a warning sign. But some of the signs are more present. So if your child is becoming secretive and not wanting to talk or discuss some of their views, if they're closing computers down when others are around when you're coming to the room, if they're refusing to say who are they talking to, using technology in a way that you cannot see actually what were their activity, or if you occur some sudden changes in mood, such as becoming angry, disrespectful, or sad, if they show a lack of interest in some hobbies, some things they liked before, and if you have an idea that they're making some plans to meeting with some people they don't know or you don't know, these are definitely signs for very open communication with your child, to ask them what is happening and maybe to seek professional help. Later, I will present about the STOP project and how we can support you as the youth workers in preventing child sexual abuse. But at this point, I will give the floor to Stelios, who will tell you more about how to deal with it and how to report it.
Oh. Thank you, Sylvia. Let's see. Tell me you can see my screen clearly.
Yes.
Try to minimize it, but okay. So I'm gonna talk about what we can do in case of detecting online grooming practices. I would like to say that this is not my favorite part because I quite support the prevention before detention, but there are steps we can still take after we detect some grooming practices. But my advice is to make sure we take the right step beforehand to make sure we protect our children. My first slide, I will talk about the signs that already explained by my colleague Sylvia. Sometimes I want to add that sometimes it can be difficult to get groomed because there are ways obvious and might be hidden. And also in older children, when they have the kind of normal teenage behavior that is similar to those signs, they might mask underlying problems. So we might need to be careful to distinguish between the two. Because my colleague Sylvia went through it, so I'm gonna go through them quite quickly. The first one is being secretive, owing money or new things like clothes and mobile phones that they can or want to justify. Underage drinking and drug taking is a red flag as well for grooming practices. Spending excessive time online, present symptoms of being upset, withdrawn, or stressed. Present sexualized behavior, language, or understanding of sex that is not appropriate for their age, and spending more time away from home or going missing for periods of time. Those signs already analyzed by my colleagues, so I went through them quickly. I want to add that sometimes a child is likely they will be aware that they have been groomed. So we need to be aware of that and build trust with them. So we need to try and talk to them. The most important step is to initiate a conversation with them. Even if we have suspicion or we identify something. So the hardest part is to initiate that conversation. Here I add some steps how you can initiate a conversation about a difficult topic. The first step you can take is try to stay calm. Gather your thoughts together before approaching the child, because if you're panicking, then the child is less likely to open up to you. And if you are not calm, then you might make the child more distressed. Sometimes they are not aware, and the perpetrator sometimes might build the trust with the child. So the child might not see that individual as a threat. So it's hard for us to convince them otherwise. So we need to be careful with the steps we are taking. Second step is to try and initiate the conversation. So create the right situation, think where the conversation will take place and how we're gonna approach the child. For example, if we try to do it too forcefully, the conversation might end up badly and the child will refuse to talk to us. It would be a conversation with a subtle approach. The topic might went off and we talk about other things other than our topic of interest. So a delicate and balanced approach is needed. When we are doing the conversation, it's important to listen actively. What we mean by listen actively is that you show that you are listening, value what the child is saying, and don't be critical. So it's really important to create a safe environment for the child to open up. As I said, it's a really tricky conversation and topic, so we need to be careful to offer the safe place. Lastly, we need to have realistic expectations. Sometimes a conversation might not go as we planned initially, so bite-sized conversations might be a better solution, like preparing the ground, initiating the the conversation and then building up through the time till the child feels safe and trust to open up. And lastly, what to do if your child talks to you about grooming. As I said, listen carefully. It's really important to assure them that they've done the right thing of telling us, because that's a big step for them. Ensure that we tell them that there is help available. Assure them that it's not their fault, because a child usually will feel shame and might be terrified. So we always need to make sure that we sure. It's really important not to try to confront the abuser, even if it's someone known to us. It's really important not to try to approach them, because this might put the child in danger. The abuser might make the child life difficult, or it might abuse the child. Explain to the child the next steps. Either that is reporting the abuse to the police or contacting the helpline together to get a psychological help or advice for the next steps. So that's for me.
So thank you very much, everybody, for the presentation. We scheduled around 40-minute presentation, and then we left some time for questions. Any doubt you want to share with us, or if you have any question about our experience, if we had any kind of experience with online grooming, and if yes, what we do. So we may wait your questions, or if Silvia, Stelios, and Christian, you want to add something related to grooming or prevention or sexual abuse in general, please be free.
Maybe while we are waiting for some questions or comments, I could briefly present a STOP project. But I don't need a presentation for this one to be able to answer the questions if they occur. So STOP project, Stop Child Abuse Through Effective Training and Augmented Reality. It is a project we are implementing at the moment. Erasmus Plus strategical partnership in the field of youth. Project which is led by Parents Association Step by Step from Croatia, where Christian and I are coming from, and in a strategic partnership with other organizations, DLearn from the European Digital Learning Network, DLearn from Italy, which Carlotta is coming from, Emphasis Interactive Solutions from Cyprus, which Stelios is coming from, and besides that, some other organizations, KMOP from Greece. I have a name written here, but I'm not sure that I can pronounce this correctly. So then Universidad de Valladolid and Association Desestrés from Spain, and yes, CCS, Digital Solutions from Ireland. So we all work on this project, which aims to provide some innovative answer to prevent sexual abuse of children and youth by giving some effective tools to youth workers, like training, and some digital tools like the augmented reality game, which is really very innovative. And we are at the moment developing it. The project has started in December of 2019 and will last for 2 years, so till the end of 2021. So I'm really looking forward to these new innovative solutions, and I hope you all who are today with us will come again and try to use those tools, and maybe to give us some feedback.
Thank you very much, Silvia. In the meanwhile, we're presenting STOP project. We got not a question, but a comment. Say that Carmen is thanking us for this information we provided through the webinar.
Always a pleasure.
I would thank you, everybody. And maybe remember that if you find that Estelia was saying, it's better to first of all prevent grooming practices rather than fix it when it already had happened. We already listening from Silvia some good practices we can develop every day with our child, by the fact that we spend a lot of time at home nowadays with them, try to understand which technology do they use, which chat do they use, if they exchange personal information like email, telephone numbers, anything like that. So works on the prevention side. Obviously, young people will opening up if they feel not judged. So if you open a good conversation with them, and then Stelios introduced something we can do in case we find out some grooming practices, and especially to not react to abusers with hate messages, but just report them to the police or to helpline. It's very important you don't react to them, because this information that are sharing with you are important then for the police to detect them. We got another messages. Okay, we have some question. Okay, one question is it possible that grooming to happen in online digital game? If yes, what would you recommend parents in regards of parental control and online gaming safety? Second, thanks, Daria. Second question is, today there are many online digital games and modern games consoles for children youth, and children youth can start chatting with strangers from all over the world. This make it harder for parents because they need to have knowledge about digital technology, and many of parents don't. So questions are related to online gaming and chatting. And if children do not want the problem to be reported, should we still do it? From Caterina. So maybe first group of question is related to online gaming. So what your parents should do. And second is related instead to what about if children don't want to report?
Well, if I can refer to this part related to what parents should do about those many digital games, yes, children can be groomed through games, through any actually tool they're using, any platform, any game, any social media, if they're talking to strangers. This is why it is very important that parents know who their children are talking to ask them, to talk openly with children what possibly can happen in such a communication, what can be motives of some maybe adult people who don't have good intentions while they're coming to the platforms that they know children are using. Another thing, we are getting back to those things, importance of education. Parents cannot say today, I don't know how to use it. You have to teach. You have to learn how to use technology. If you want to be supportive to your child, if you want to be able to recognize all the challenges, we managed to learn how to use TVs with a remote. We learned how to use a PlayStation, microwaves, and so on. Okay, today we have another level of digital tools. If you know how to use combined washing and drying machine. You have to find a way to learn how to use digital tools that your child is using. Because if you cannot be support or enough actually educator to your child. So it is challenging for parents, but there are many organizations which are ensuring some support. I'm sure that every of our organizations is ensuring some support to parents to make them easier. And I believe Christian wanted to say something.
I just want to add on yours. I think it's very important, and so many examples are there for that parents and people who are not familiar enough with all the apps. I also see. I will answer part of the Anna Maria's question. I think it's very important to show interest, as Sylvia was talking about in gaming. If somebody mentioned Fortnite or TikTok, and if you don't understand the words, which is of course understandable, because the social media and apps are coming every day, in the fashion, out of the fashion, it's not important. If you hear a word that you don't understand, ask your children and your adolescents, because I think that they will be interesting to explain to you, to show you, and then they maybe tell that they are talking to somebody from there, and that they're sharing some conversation. So it's very important to show interest and not just say, oh, you kids today, in my days it was never happened like that. Yeah, of course it's not, but it's happening now. It's really important to know, to talk about it and to learn from your children and from your I don't know, maybe younger friend, younger colleagues, about the new technologies and new cool ways to act online.
I would also like to add, apart from the interest that Christian and Sylvia said, I would like to add the building trust, because everything is down to trust between a parent and their child. So it's really important to let child know that you are not judging them, and yeah, we don't agree with all their decisions sometimes, but we need to make sure we advise, provide our advice in the right way, and don't be judgmental. But yeah, interest is the first step, and then building trust through conversations, I would say, is really important as well.
Thank you, guys. Last question from Katerina. Sorry, Katerina, I read it twice probably to understand the question, but I think now I got it. If children do not want to report the problem, it means that they are victim of grooming, for instance. Should we still do it? I think you probably represent, or as a parent or as a youth worker, what should I do if my son or my daughter tell me that he's or she's a victim of grooming? Me as a parent or youth worker, what should I do? Should I report it or not? I think that's the question, and I leave the floor to maybe Sylvia to answer to this.
Okay, this is a very important question, you know. In every case, we are obliged to report it, and we're obliged as a parents and as a youth workers to protect the best interest of a child. Also, we have to try to keep the trust between child and either parent or a youth worker. I think this question is maybe more for the youth workers. To explain them that there are some secrets that cannot be, some things that cannot be secrets, that cannot stay hidden, because it is their interest and their right to be safe and to be secured from situations like this. And that is our obligation to do it. And we can agree with child in what way to do it. To let them to decide what will be the first step, who we will refer it to first. Will we call the police? Will we call the parents first? Or in that way. But it is our obligation. And the thing why we have such a small number of reported cases with a huge number of actual cases is because people are not secure. Do they have to respect the wish from the child that they don't want to report? Of course they don't want, they're afraid, they don't know what will happen, but they don't have a maturity to decide about it. This is why we have a lot of legislation and a lot of experts views and recommendations how to deal with it. So yes, report it.
Thank you, Silvia. I hope, Caterina, we answered your question. I want to add something anyway. In the different member states, there are helplines that can also support the parents or youth worker to how to do and the different step, different things you can do to support your young person, the child that show you grooming practices. So you are not alone. Also, you can call this helpline. In each member state, you have a number so that you can get helped also in doing this. We have another point from Anna Maria. Sorry if I don't pronounce correctly the different names and surname.
Maria.
Thank you. She teaches computer science and she teaches the students about digital footprint. So all the information that we leave online and to be obviously careful online to who they talk to. And then she said that, but I think that parents should talk more with their children about online life, but since they work long hours, they don't know anything about it. Unfortunately, a lot of parents aren't educated to use technology and apps. This is from Anna Maria. And then we got, okay, Caterina, that she said thank you from the previous message. So probably Anna Maria, if I understood it right, your comment, you say, I teach computer science, so probably I know all the apps, I know all the technological side, but I know that children are spending a lot of time online. So in this way, which we can say, which is my role as a professor, as a youth worker, to support and to prevent these practices. Because if parents spend a lot of time, they leave a lot of time their child alone. So they are more at risk of being groomed online.
Yeah, it's coming back to what I mentioned earlier. It's very important for everybody who is adult and who don't know the new ways and new apps. It's to ask, just to ask the person who told you about it and to explain it, how it's work, what does it do it. Maybe you will find it interesting and apply yourself. So it doesn't mean that everything would be like something dangerous, but of course it's always nice to have like new knowledges, new tools, because we are all going to use it one day, because we see that social networks are nowadays very important to either young people, elderly, and everybody. So
yes, and I would agree, because as much as we have to improve digital skills for children, we also have to help parents to improve their digital skills. So this is ongoing work. We as organizations of a civil society can definitely support both parents and children.
Okay, did we? I think we answered all the questions. So we did 1 hour webinar, so we've been very good. So anything you want to share with us, Christian, Stelios, and Silvia, before closing this webinar?
I don't have anything.
I would like to thank everyone for attending this webinar.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Thank you everyone for your support and for participating.
And of course, follow our project on social media so you can see the new webinars and workshops that we will organize, and maybe you will find it interesting as well.
Thank you very much. I hope this will help you in your everyday life with your child, and I hope to see you soon in other online and offline, hopefully, activities. Thank you. Have a happy weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.